answer from the options. And in the writing section, you will be having grammar. Basically, you will be having the, what is prescribed grammar? Prescribed grammar and the described grammar. So there are two types of grammar. Prescribed grammar is something you must be learning in school. So as you know, parts of speech, tenses, all this is known as prescribed grammar. But here, under the writing section, you have only described grammar. Described grammar is something where, it is important for you to know all the rules of grammar. So I won't be dealing with the writing section. I will just be dealing with the reading section. So you should know all the rules under grammar, and accordingly, you will have to, choose your options. You will have to look at the questions. And for example, if I take the topic as yes, these are your material. So if I take the topic as subject verb agreement, so you might be having a question that choose the sentence that has the best thing for the subject verb agreement, and then you have to choose the most appropriate sentence from the options. So this is the separate thing. Today we will only be dealing with the reading section. And under the reading section, I'm going to start with session 2. So you can just refer to your material. You can open session 2, command of evidence, quantitative. When you look at this subject or the topic, what do you like? What is your first opinion? Command of evidence, quantitative. Here we have a keyword, quantitative. Maybe they're getting some statistical data or yes. So then you have to do an analysis of the statistical data. So the statistical data will be in the form of a table or in the form of a graph. Basically, it is non-verbal information. Okay. So if you look at the first topic, that is command of evidence textual. Before this is session 2. So under textual, you only have the passage, and accordingly you have to make logical choices. But under this one, you have a graph or some kind of a non-verbal information, and below that you also have a kind of a passage that describes that particular information, and then you have a question prompt, and finally you have the options. Okay, so you can just take some notes while I'm writing on the board, because you already have the book, but this would just be some pointers. So at the end, you could just have a look. Structure of the question. You will first have a table. First, you have an introduction. Introduction as in what is the graph or the graphical representation of the table or whatever you have, what is it about? Then second, you have the graphical representation of the data. Third, you will be having a passage. Fourth, you have a question prompt. Not well. No, I just have a bus. Sometimes, I just came back home and said, oh, okay. So I have a bit of confidence. Temperature over there is really. This is the structure of the question. So, see one thing. So, first you copy this down. Okay. see, whenever you look at a question under the command of evidence quantitative, one thing that you have to look at is the passage. This is the most important thing. So what do students do? Whenever they see a graphical representation, they often tend to skip this. Okay. See, I would say that 98% of times the answer lies in this itself. You don't have to go back and look at the graph. Okay, just remember this is a trick. So it is very important to read the passage carefully. Okay, so first you know the introduction. It could be just in a sentence describing what is the graphical representation about. Now, whenever you read the introduction and whenever you see the graphical representation, it might be that this particular topic you might know something about that, like you might have some previous knowledge about it. But you always have to keep your bias away. Even if you have some particular knowledge about it, don't add your opinions and knowledge in this graphical representation because it is not always true. It might just be for the question's sake. Okay, so we just have to focus on the information that is provided to us. Step number 1, what you have to do, you have to first look at the question prompt. This is the first step. Okay. Once you know what is the question about, in the graph, you just have to look for that particular information. Okay. Second thing, you look at the graph. And the third thing, you look at the passage. Now, while you are dealing with the passage, always remember to highlight some key points. So while you are solving this on your PC, whenever like in the exam, you will be having an online exam. So you will always have a highlighter option over there. Okay, so always highlight your key points while you are going through the passage, and then you have to connect both of these. Okay, so for example, if you look at some of these sample questions, the last line of the passage has the answer always. We look at some of the sample questions, but remember this, the last line of the passage will always give you an answer because it is actually a kind of a conclusion. And then you just have to connect the last line, that is the conclusion, with the graphical information, that's all. But under some questions, what it happens, you have to purely refer to the graph itself. Okay, so for example, there is a question depending upon the different trends of population increase in China. Okay, so the trends of population in China. So there, there might be some increase and decrease on the graphical information that is provided to you. And the question prompt would be, in which year was the trend increasing the most of population in China? And then in the options, you might be having some years, 2010, 2001, something like this. So then you have to, for such type of question, you have to purely look at the graph because you won't be able to find an answer from the passage. But sometimes when you have some kind of a graphical information and there is a passage, so in the last line, there will always be a claim or a conclusion. Okay, so once you have that claim or conclusion, you just have to connect both of the things, and then in the options it might be, okay, which of the following claims is true based on the graphical representation that is provided to you. Then you have to just connect, and then okay, one more thing that you can actually do for solving the reading questions especially is the method of elimination. Okay, so this is very important. It might not be that important under the writing section, but under the reading section, this is very important. So don't look for the right answer. First, go on eliminating the wrong ones. You will end up being at the right one. This is very important under the stat reading section. So you have to follow this for like all the topics. I won't repeat this again and again. Just use the method of elimination. Just remove one by one, and then you'll get the right answer. Have you copied all this down? Should I erase the board? Okay, now before we move further, I think tomorrow Manisa will be talking about this, but I will just be talking about this and just give you a brief about this. So this SAT examination, it has two modules. Okay, so module 1 and module 2. So under module 1, you have 27 questions and you get 32 minutes. Okay, now this module 1 is very important. If you are able to score good in this module 1, then the question set that you will receive for your module 2 will be, a bit complex. The level would be a bit higher, but this would help you to fetch more marks. But if you are not able to do well in this module, then the question set that you receive under module 2 will also, be of a lower level and you will be able to fetch less marks. Though you have, you have all questions right, still the marks that they hold will be comparatively less than the harder question set. So module 1 is very important. Okay, so for example, if you have question number 1, it was of 5 marks. Okay, but you were not able to solve it properly, so this question was wrong. So question number 2, you will get it for 4 marks. If you were able to solve this right, then question number 3 again you will get it for 5 marks. If the answer is wrong for question number 2, question number 3 you will get it for 3 marks. So this is how it goes down. So this is the pattern that SAT follows. So for this, module number 1 is very important. Not just module number 1, as I told you, the questions also you will get according to how you have solved the previous question. And then if the overall you have done well in module 1, then accordingly you will get a set for module 2. Okay, so Manish sir will talk in detail about this tomorrow. This is just an idea. So we move forward. What is command of evidence? Command of evidence questions ask you to interpret and analyze evidence, often in the form of data like charts, tables, and graphs to support or evaluate claims made in the passage. So here too, the 2 points that are important is the passage and the graphical information. Okay, charts, tables, and graphs. And here you have to interpret and analyze. So interpret is basically you have to make conclusion. Analyze is basically synthesizing. Synthesizing, see, whenever you look at the graphical information, I told you first have to look at the question prompt. As soon as you look at the question prompt, the way you think will be narrowed down. As it is narrowed down, you'll only be focused on what is asked in the question prompt in the graph. So you won't be focused on all the other information. Now, what students do sometimes, they are, not able to figure out what the graph is actually about because sometimes the graphs are really very complicated. So for that, always refer to the passage because this happens whenever there is a simple graph, the passage would be something you won't be able to understand. And whenever there is a complex graph, the passage would be something where you will fetch your answer. You don't have to go back and look at the graph. It is just for the sake of question. And again, in the SAT exam, you won't be having sections. All the questions are just mixed up. So whenever you see a graph, you should know that, okay, this question is under the command of evidence. And now I have to solve this accordingly. So first question prompt, the graph, passage, and then I have to synthesize all the information together. Okay. You have any doubts? Okay, so why is this important? Definitely, this is important because you get such type of graphs and non-verbal information in newspapers. Right? You might have seen. Can you give me some more reasons why is this important?
When we are analyzing the data based on maybe we are doing survey and
yes,
analysis.
Yes. So, like if you are giving any presentation, so usually you don't present your survey, the information that you have been collected from your survey, you don't present it in the form of words. Usually present it in the graphical form. So it is very important. You also link textual information. Quantitative data make logical decisions based on the evidence. So again, where will you find the evidence? You'll find the evidence over here. The decision is yours. You will never find direct answers. The decision is yours. You have to make logic out of everything, all the information that is given to you. Yes, so understanding graphs, charts, tables, connect textual claims to data, and identify trends and draw conclusions. So I've already explained this. Types of questions. Yes, now this is very important. The first type of question is identify the evidence that supports a claim. So I think I've talked about this. So again, you will be having a graph and the passage. The graph, see, in such type of questions, you don't have to look at the graph more. You just have to focus on the passage because already the passage is giving us the gist of the graph. Along with that, it is also giving us a claim or the conclusion. Now we just have to choose, it's just like true or false. So we just have to choose one answer from the given options that is the most closest or that describes the graph the most appropriately. So this is the first one. The second type is you have to analyze the data to answer questions. So as I gave you an example of the population of China. So here you have to purely focus on the graphical information or integrate the text or the graphical data. This is basically a logic-based question where some graphical information will be given to you and some kind of a prediction would be asked to you that what do you think what would be the graph look like after some years, or if we just go behind what was the graph like. So you have to just think logically based upon the passage, the evidences that are already provided to you. Don't, if even if you know about this, don't add your own information over there. Okay. Common pitfalls, misreading data in charts or graphs. So this actually happens when the graph is really very complicated. When you have a normal graph like this, you have a graph something like this, and you have some graphical information like this, then it is very simple. But if you just turn the pages of your book in the practice session, yes, go to page number 33. Then if you see the third question under the practice worksheet, page number 35. Now, see what students will focus on. The students will focus only on this black portion, the darker portion. But then if you see closely, there is something that is going up from here. Students tend to miss this because definitely they don't have time. And as I told you, they get only 30. There are 27 questions and they get only 32 minutes. Now, just imagine how much time do you have to take for solving one question. So you cannot take more than a minute or 1 minute or 10 seconds, not more than that for solving one question. So for they are just in a hurry and then they just they forget to look at this, they just miss this out. And if you look at the question, if you look at the passage, everything is related to this itself. The small portion like a needle that is going up. Okay, so this is important to look at the graphical information very carefully. Do not miss on anything. Ignoring the passage context. So this is again very important. You have to connect both. Both are very important. But always look at the last sentence of the passage. So here also, if you look at question number 3 on page number 35, the researchers concluded that this accelerated growth was caused by the increased supply of red light provided by the WCM films. So here the conclusion is already given to us. Okay, so this is basically, you have to support, this is the question number, the first type of a question where you have to identify the evidence that supports the claim. Which choice uses data from the graph to support the researcher's conclusion? Okay, so here you will find the answer purely in the passage itself. You don't have to go back and look at the graph. But then again, you should know that the thing is going up because it is something, the answer, it's something related to 600 only. If you just try solving that, I had solved these questions and I know it's something related to that itself, the quantity, the wavelength, the nanometers that you can see around 600. You might also have more. See, if you have on page number 36, if you look at that kind of a graphical information, that is very easy. Simply a table is given to you and there is, it is not even a non-verbal kind of an information, it's just verbal information that they have arranged in a form of a table. So this type of a table is very easy. So you don't have to think much about this. Also remember one thing, for the reading, you have to train yourself in such way. So you have 27 questions and you have 32 minutes. Now for one question, try and complete one question in 1 minute. Okay, so how can you do this? Now, students find it very difficult. They say, okay, we have such a big passage. We have to first read the passage, then we have to understand this, and then we go down, we read the question prompt, then again we read the options. We have to come back to the passage. So this takes lots of time. So one tip that I would like to give you is you always have to highlight. Okay, so you will be having a rough sheet with you while you solve your exam. If you don't want to use your mouse to highlight on the screen, take the paper and write all the key points. Simply the key points. See, now you study, while you are studying or you're reading a book, you usually highlight things. So once you are done reading the question prompt, you don't have to go back and read the entire passage. You just have to read the question prompt. You already have the key points with you. And then start eliminating. Eliminating, it definitely takes some time, but then it would definitely help you to end up with the right answer. Because if you try to look at only the right answer, then you might end up with the wrong answer. So when you eliminate, you are 100% sure that yes, this answer is not the right one, hence I'm removing it. Okay, and some eliminations, some options that are given, I would say that in the reading section, it is difficult to eliminate as well. That's the reason I'm telling you, you can take 1 minute or, slightly more than 1 minute, not more than that. But if you look at the writing section, their elimination is real quick. Because over there, two options. Even if you look at the options, you'll know, yeah, these are not right options. Two options are eliminated. Then you just have to eliminate from the rest two options. But under the reading section, definitely the options are lengthy. You have to read everything, then you have to analyze. So this takes time. For the writing section, you shouldn't take more than 30 seconds for each question. And for the reading section, also the reading section, see, this 27 questions won't be all about reading. It would be maths. Okay, under maths, I have no idea what are the sections, but under English, you have the writing and the reading section. So accordingly, you have to manage your time. Time is very less and you have so many questions to solve. Now, maths problems, they might take even more time to solve. So tomorrow you have your first math session. So the professor over there will tell you about that as well. Time management is very important. And like, how can you manage your time? Just by practice. Okay, so this book is like really very helpful. Study material, you have many questions over here. But apart from this, try to look for other websites online, try to solve the previous year's question papers if you can. I think you'll be having a mock test over here also. They give you tests, a lot of tests after all the sessions. So after, I think, every 2 sessions, they have some kind of a test. So this helps you a lot. The more you practice, your speed will increase. So these are some of the tips for success. You have to practice a lot. See the information over here and over here. These are the 2 most important things. Never miss on this. You should know, see the introduction that is given to you in the beginning. That is also very important, and both the y-axis and the x-axis, whatever it represents, it is also very important. So you have to pay attention over there. And you have to relate the data back to the passage. So command of evidence, quantitative questions, test your ability to think critically and interpret data. So thinking critically is basically how you use your logic to choose the correct option. Okay. You will see, this is not like, I don't know, you were from which school?
DPS.
DPS. So when I was in school, we used to have passages where, for example, the first, not in, the higher classes, I'm talking about 4th, 5th standard, the passage would be like, okay, there was a small village and there was a boy named Rahul living in that village with his family. And the first question was like, what was the name of the boy in the passage? As simple as that. So definitely, in such cases, children don't even then read the passage. They would just see, okay, there is the word name in the passage, and they would just look for the word name in the question, and then they will just match the words and they'll write the answer. But this is not like that. Here you have to think critically. You have to, use your logic. You have to eliminate. You have to think critically, because you will just don't think like that. Okay, there is some word in the passage, and if I find that word in the option, that would be the right answer. It is just not like that. It is very much different. As you solve the questions, you will come to know. It's totally based upon your analyzing your comprehending, your understanding your style, or all about this. Yes, and this is, in the graphs, it could be as simple as the table like this, or it could be as complex as this one. Okay. Okay, see, this is so complicated. On page number 28. Now for this, you have to first look at which line represents what. Okay, and then you will have to see in such, I would definitely say that in such type of graphs, the answer lies in the passage itself, not in the graph, where you have such complicated graphs. But if you see question number 9, it is just the information that is represented in the form of a table. So here, here you have the option as which choice best describes the data from the table that supports the researcher's conclusion. This is the question. Now, your step number 1 was the question problem. Once I have read the question, okay, the question is which choice best describes the data from the table that supports the researcher's conclusion. Now I know that I have to look at researcher's conclusion. Where will I find researcher's conclusion? Drink some water and read the last line to me. Yes. So you already know what did the researchers concluded. Now you just have to choose the best option that supports the researcher's conclusion. Okay. You already know the conclusion. Now you have to start reading the options. And while you read options one by one, you have to go back, check the graph, and then you have to start eliminating. It's simple, it's not very difficult. And if you look at the graphs, the topics ranges from science, social studies, to stats, to economics. Like, it's everything under this one type of question. Okay, so see, a person won't be having information. You might, you might have completed your specialization under a particular subject, but then you have to always keep your bias away whenever you are looking at the graph. Okay, if it is something about economics, if you are doing commerce, then you might have more information about economics. And if you see that something wrong is over there, so that's fine. Let it be. So do you want to take some rest? We go to we go to page number 16. I'll erase the board. Read the question for me.
As part of the unit on pollination, a biologist is researching colony collapse in bottle. The series is appearance of negative honey at this meltdown colonies in the early 2000s. Although many wild populations have continued to decline, the number of honeybees have actually increased in every continent. The student wants to emphasize that in some regions, honeybee populations have not only rebounded by 2020, but also reached their highest level in 6 years. Which region included in the graph should the student cite to support this claim?
Now I want you to take a pencil in your hand. Look at the last line and underline the key points that you feel might help you solve the question. The student wants to emphasize that in some regions, honeybee population had not only rebounded by 2020. So one key point is 2020. So we have to focus on the year 2020. Okay? But also reach their highest level in 60 years. Now, one key point, or one key word that I would actually see over here is rebounded. Okay, so population have not only rebounded, but also, so there are two conditions, not only rebounded, but also reached their highest level. So here when we look at the year 2000, okay, it is very simple. Just look at the year 2000. Okay, so now we have four different kind of lines. Each line it represents a different continent. Okay, so in the year 2000, can you see one line that is, changing its course, one or two lines or whatever? Which line can you see that is changing its course or its direction? It's going up or down. The trend is changing from 2020. You can keep your finger and you can just figure it out. So Africa is the one that has dotted lines. So the trend is changing right from 2020. Is there any other continent too? Asia. Asia. Okay. So now we have four options. We have Africa, America, Europe, and Asia. So if you have to eliminate two, which two will you eliminate?
America and
Yes, America and Europe. Perfect. Now you have two. Now again, you have to go and read the last line. You already have the key pointers. Read it again and see. The right answer is one among the two itself. So now which one will you choose from Africa and Asia? See, you will find the answer in the last line itself. Just remember this. Whenever you have a question of the graphical representation, last line is very important.
it's Africa because it reached the highest level in 6 years.
Yes, so it's Africa. Okay. So now if you see the dotted lines in Africa, so here it is over here, right? But then it is going up and then it rebounded, it came down, and then it is going up again. So if you check, it is around 20 and it is the highest level. Okay. So the right answer is Africa. So here you actually found the answer in the last line itself. Only the thing is you have to look back to the graph to find the name of the country. Now, do you have any doubts in this question? Do you find it simple?
Yeah.
Let us look at question number 2. Read the question.
Despite decades of leadership and overall popularity, ebooks are hardly positioned to replace print books. Rather, the two types of media complement each other, providing the same content in different forms. Print books and ebooks each have unique attributes and serve distinct purposes, which vary by demographic and situational factors. Researchers in Land and Tsunami Kurwa use data from the National Reading Habits Survey to examine book format preferences in a variety of situations. Although the pair found that ebooks are firmly established as an option due to ease of accessibility, they also concluded that print books offer great appeal to most readers in certain situations. The choice best describes data on the chart that supports Zhang and Kurwa's finding.
So again, this is completely, you have to choose a claim that best describes the data. Now, again, you have to read the last line and underline your key points.
One of the pair found that ebooks are probably essential option to ease of accessibility to be a full speaker. They also concluded that print books offer greater input to most users in certain situations.
Now your my key point would be
Ebooks greater appeal in certain situations.
great to be in such situations also. The ebooks are only established as an option due to their ease of accessibility. That would underline ease of accessibility. And print books, my other key point, they offer greater appeal to most of the readers in certain situations. Okay. So greater appeal. So here we are comparing ebooks to print books, and here we are saying that it offers greater appeal. Now we have to look at the situations. So see first, before we look at the options, let us go back and look at the graph. So where do we have print as the darker one, and we have electronic as the lighter one. Okay, so here we have quick access. So here under quick access, we already know that ebooks are preferred, and see the lighter part, lighter thing is more than the darker one. But if you see in others, just leaving travel aside, because travel again, here you have travel because whenever you are traveling, you definitely prefer the ebook because of ease of accessibility. So only for travel, the print is less and the electronic is more. But if you see all the other things, read to a child or range of titles and share books, there the print, the darker thing is higher. Okay, so we see the graph is already explained to us in the last time.
In the range of titles.
Yes, it is 50-50 in the range of titles. Okay. But overall, if you see that the print thing is higher than the ebooks. Okay. So this is what is the claim given by the two researchers as well. So now let us look at the first option. Can we read the first option?
The large majority of people seek access to a book prefer the electronic option, with less than 25% of readers opting for print.
Is it true?
It is true.
But is it supporting the claim?
It's not supporting the claim.
So see, whenever you read an option, you have to ask two questions to yourself. Is this claim true? If the claim is false, then you don't have to ask the second question. But if the claim is true, then you have to ask the second question. Is it supporting the conclusion that is given by the researchers? And if the answer is yes, keep it aside. Okay. So the first one, it is not supporting, though it is true, it is not supporting the claim. So we move to the second option. The first one is eliminate. Read the second one.
The percentage of readers who choose a format based on the variety of titles available was about 50% for both books and ebooks. It is true, but it does not support the claim.
Perfect. Third one.
More than 75% of readers prefer print books for reading to a child, and more than 60% prefer print books for sharing with other readers.
Is it true?
Yes.
Is it supporting the claim?
Yes.
So we keep this aside. The fourth one.
When concerned about the access or reading during travel, most readers prefer books in the same format. That's true, but it does not support the claim.
Prefer books in the same format. Oh, yes. So the right option would be C. Any doubt? Right. The third one. Read the question.
MRSA is salient
Okay,
resistant.
don't read that. Just leave that aside.
It's a type of bacteria that is frequently responsible for hospital-acquired infections and is known for being exceptionally resistant to common antibiotics. When a group of these medications were compared in terms of their ability to cure MRSA infections versus a variety of other infections, researchers found that an antibiotic can demonstrate a high level of general effectiveness, but that the same medication could be significantly less effective in combating MRSA. For example, which choice most effectively uses data from the table to logically complete the text.
Okay, so here the names of some antibiotics are given to you. And what is the claim? Can you read the claim again? You have to start with researchers found.
Researchers found that an antibiotic can demonstrate a high level of general effectiveness, but that the same medication should be significantly less effective in combating MRSA.
So if you look at the graphical representation, it's quite simple. So here we have some of the names of the antibiotics and how their effectiveness in general and their effectiveness on MRSA. Okay. So here you have to give an example for this. So you know the question. Here, if I have to highlight the key points in the last sentence, I would say that it demonstrates a high level of general effectiveness. Okay, so we have to look for an antibiotic that has a high level of general effectiveness, but at the same time, its capacity to affect affect this disease and RSA should be significantly less. So in your mind, you might have some quantities. So at one side, the quantity should be the most, and on the other side, the quantity should be the least. This would be the perfect medicine. So if you look at the first one, whatever it is, starting from erythromycin, right? The first one. If you see the general effectiveness is 31.94. But whenever it comes to MRSA, the effectiveness goes down to 26.90. And if you see the second last one, clindamycin, again, see this supports the claim more because the the gap is much more. So it is 83.33 and 69.23. Okay, so these are the two antibiotics that supports the claim. So we come to know by looking at the quantities, by comparing the quantities as well. Also, if you look at, there is just one antibiotic that is vancomycin that has 100 effectiveness. So if we see vancomycin anywhere in the options, then that claim would be, it is not definitely supporting the claim. Okay, now let us start eliminating. Read the first option.
Erythromycin had a general effectiveness of nearly 50%, whereas MRSA effectiveness was only about 5.0. So the sentence is true, but it does not support the claim.
Yes, because it is not significantly worse. Okay. Second one,
Whereas Nucleocin was around 70% less effective against MRSA than against general infections. The gap for clindamycin was only about 14%.
what about this one? It is true, it is supporting the claim.
We have other options which are more.
Yes. So you have to always choose the option that supports the claim to its maximum extent. So this is what happens. The options are very overlapping, they tend to confuse you, and this takes much more time. Okay, so the more you practice, the more you'll be able to eliminate quickly. Read the third one.
Only one to my was effective in combating both general and MRSA bacteria. That's true, but is not.
Yes.
They found Islam showed a general effectiveness rate of more than 85%, whereas it was just over 60% effective against MRSA. This would be correct answer.
Yes. What is the most gap between the general effectiveness and the MRSA effectiveness was for what is the name? The last one. You don't have to focus on the names, it is just the information that is provided, you just have to focus on the non-verbal information. You will find more such names ahead. Okay, now let us look at some questions. So overall, there are many questions. We won't be solving everything in class. And giving some for homework. So you can solve the third one. You can just put a tick mark now in class. Solve the third one. The classroom worksheet.
Session this one.
Yes. Page number 23. Third one. Then you can go for the seventh one. You can go for the 11th one, page number 31. And then let us do the 8th one that looks the most complicated one in class. Right? Yes. So you have the third one, 3, 7, 8, and 11. Solve all these 4 on your own in class. Right? Yes. If you have any doubts, I'm over here. I'll just come back in a minute.
Please register.
Okay,
Please register.
sure.
for experience with my right? It's already. So we can read the question. Let us start with the third one. Read the question and then experience. Actually, that question is to assess the impact of invasive species on ecosystems in Africa, Venezuela. And colleagues reviewed government reports from those nations on how invasive species are undermining ecosystem services as well as the ecosystem on which residents depend. The services were sorted into three categories: provisioning material resources for the ecosystem, regulating natural processes such as cleaning the air or water, and cultural non-material benefits of ecosystems. And the team assert that countries in each region reported license provision services and natural provision services represent the majority of reported services. The correct answer chosen is B. Because the main point of the passage is that each region reported addressing the provisioning services and the provisioning services represent majority of the reported services. So in our answer, the two things that should be there is that each region should have a report for the provisioning services, and the majority of the reported services should be the provisioning services. So the option gives us both. One, in every company that use wind turbines rely on weather forecasts to predict the maximum amount of power and megawatt hours they can generate using wind so that they can determine how much they need to generate from other sources. When winds are stronger than their forecasted, however, the predicted maximum amount of electricity wind turbines can generate the predicted maximum amount of electricity wind turbines can generate will be too low. For example, the graph shows that in the West region, the winds were, I chose answer A, right? That is because the question states that it's specifically talking about the West region. So we need to check the graph for that West region. And there's only one answer which is given, the West region, which is true. So that's okay. Okay. Next. Investigate the influence of certain estrogen responsive neurons on energy expenditure. Biologist Stephanie Korea treated female and male mice with either saline solution or clozapine and peroxide, which activates neurons. Monitoring the activity levels of the mice by measuring how frequently the animals broke into their enclosures. Korea found that the mice in their study showed sex-specific differences in response to neural activation. Here are keyword specific differences in response to neuron activation. So our answer should have a male and female contrast that's being shown. I've chosen the answers D. Yes, because there it is telling us about all the four species that were tested, and it's also giving us the accurate information. So just true, and it's also catering to what has been asked. And that didn't find anything difficult. So this was an easy topic. Number 11. It was easy, right? That's to understand how expressions of anger and reviews of products affect readers of those reviews. Business scholar Desi Lian and techniques measured student study participants' responses to three versions of the same negative review: a controlled review expressing no anger, a review expressing a high degree of anger, and a review expressing a low degree of anger. Reviewing the data, a student concludes that the mere presence of anger in a review does not negatively affect readers' perceptions of the review. But a high degree of anger in a review does worsen readers' perceptions of the review. I chose the answer D. Why? Because here it is. I was confused between B and D actually. Here, both of them are true, and we are specifically talking about the high degree of anger, and so now let us look at last time once again. relate the data, student believes that the mere presence of angle in a review may not negatively affect the user's perception. The first point is the mere presence of angle in a review may not negatively affect the user's perceptions of the review. But a higher degree of angle in a review does worsen the reader's perception of the review. These are the key points. So here you can actually make a kind of a some kind of a non-verbal thing for yourself. So here, if the mere presence of data, mere present may not affect, but if there is a high degree of anger, then this will worsen. So this is actually a direct proportion, if you see. Right? Now let us look at option B. Compared with participants who saw the controlled review, the participants who saw the low anger review rated the review as slightly more helpful, whereas the participants who saw the high anger review rated the review as less helpful. So we just you see option D. Compared with the participants who saw the low anger review, participants who saw the high anger review rated the review as less helpful and had a less positive attitude towards the review product. Here actually, here we are only given some information or a claim about the high anger review, but we have no claim about the low anger review. If you look at the last sentence, it is talking about both the presence of the low anger review, like whenever the anger is low, then what would be the effect, the perception? It might not negatively affect the perception, and if there is high degree of anger, it worsens the perception. So option number B would be, it is more correct as compared to B, because here option B is only talking about the higher degree of anger. Though it is comparing itself with the lower anger review, it is not giving us much information about that. So it is, partly right. But if you see B, it is completely okay. But in our last sentence, I'm saying, in presence of review. So basically, here we talk about the low anger review and a high anger review. That was what my thinking was, that we have to compare low anger review and high anger review. So that is why I was like, it should maybe go with D. Yes. So here the comparison that we have done is right, but again we have to present something that is giving us an example for both. So in option B, we are only talking about the high anger review. There is no evidence about the low anger review. They are just comparing it. But here in option B, they have both. As they are comparing it, they are giving us some kind of an evidence too for the comparison. Okay. So I'm happy that you didn't find any difficulty and all you did very well. So this you have, see there are 12 questions in all, and we have done 4. So how many remain? 8 questions. So you have to do all 8 as your homework. Okay. So I think I will meet you next Saturday. So we'll do the 8 questions. If you have any doubts, we will be solving only those in class. We will be doing the practice worksheet in the next class. So once you are done solving all the rest of the 8 questions at home, the practice worksheet we do in the next session, so that all these concepts get polished once again, and then it's a quick revision for it. Now let us move on to session 4. It is a very interesting one, and I'm sure that you'll be finding this one to be very easy. So first, tell me, do you read books? Yes. Are you interested in literature? Yeah. I actually have a book published. Oh wow. Okay, 3-page novels. Okay, what is the name of the novel? The Rose That Glittered. Wonderful. Okay, so what is the genre that you like to read? Fantasy fiction. Sometimes murder. Wonderful. So if you like literature, and definitely you told me that you have written a novel, then you might know how to critically analyze any kind of text. Right? So this is very important in literature when you read between the lines. Because in any work of literature, only the context is given to you. The dialogues between the characters is given to you if it is a drama, or there is a simple poetry given to you. But when you are talking about literature, it is all about critically analyzing the work and reading between the lines. So this topic, inference, is all about that. So you would love this topic if you are interested in literature. Here you have to look at, see, so how the question is,
The structure of the question is you have some kind of an information that is given to you, and then you have the word therefore dash. So you have to, in a way, give a conclusion, okay, of the passage. Now, here again, your logical decision making is very important. Now, how will you do this logical decision making? So, there are two types of clues. Okay, so the first one is the continuous, and the second one, they are the contradictors. Okay. So if you look at the continuous, it would be and also what other words? Like whenever you have to add something to the given information, what other words will you use? Hence. Hence. Hence actually it is not a continue word. It comes for conclusion. Okay. Contradictors will have but, although. Okay, so are you getting the context? So you might have many other continuous and contradictors, but see, if you look at the tone of continuous, you know that they are just simply adding on to the given information. So there is no shift in tone. So if the information is positive, it would be positive only, or vice versa. If the information is talking something negative about a particular subject, it would be negative itself. But contradictors, here you always have a transition. Transition from negative to positive or vice versa. Okay, so here, whenever you are dealing with inferences, this is very important. You need to understand the tone and you have to identify the words. Are they just adding on to the information or is there any kind of transition? So transition as in the tone changes completely. And once you are able to identify this, then only you will be able to give a conclusion. Okay, and the question prompt is very simple. You just have to choose the particular option that concludes the passage in the best possible way. It's as simple as that. Okay, so we'll just go through the PPT once. Okay, so inferences require you to read between the lines and draw conclusions based on the passage. They are not directly stated in the text. Inferences rely on combining evidence from the text with your reason. So again, if you see a particular word in the passage and then you see the particular word in the option, that doesn't mean that that is the right option. Here again, you have to use your logical thinking. You have to analyze and synthesize data, and then you have to choose a logical answer. Now you have to add your own reasoning to it. Okay, they test your ability to understand the deeper meanings of the text. See, if you are able to identify the continuous and the contradictors, you will definitely know the tone and you will be able to understand the deeper meaning of the text. To recognize the implied ideas and connections, think critically and interpret the evidence effectively. Now, this is important. Okay, so inference questions. It could be of these three types. So the first one is the author's intent. So the question might be that which of the following options describes the author's ideas in the best possible way, in reference to the text. So you have to choose. So now here, this therefore thing, it won't be over there. There would be a full stop, there would be no dash after full stop, and then you have to in a way give a conclusion, like a kind of a summary. Okay, because now when the author, it is very direct. Whenever you have to give a summary of the text, it is very direct. You don't have to think beyond the horizon. It is very direct. The text is provided to you. Just have to condense it in your own words, and not in your own words, but you just have to look for the option that condenses it in the best way possible, and then you have to choose the answer. So this is basically the easiest one, where you have to look at the author's intent, you have to look for the summary, and this is very direct. The next one is the implied meaning. Implied meaning is that you have to read between the lines. So it could be such type of a question. Therefore, okay, where you actually have to think about whatever you have written, and such type of questions, here in such type of question, they are not asking you for a summary. They are asking you what have you interpreted from whatever you have read, and you have to choose the best possible answer. Okay, so this is different from a summary. You don't have to mention a summary over it. And the last one is the tone and the attitude. How does the author feel about the topic? So here the tone and the attitude could be a particular text that is provided to you, and then they would ask you, okay, choose the right option that describes the text in the best way. So here you would say that, okay, the author was, he was trying to make a particular conclusion, or like he was researching on some topic, but the research is left incomplete. So, the tone of the passage is something, he's curious. Fine. So it's the question. See, the last one is not usually asked, but still they have mentioned it over there because it could be a possibility. The only two that are asked is the first and the second one. Okay, the tone and the attitude is basically you have to figure it out. You have to look at the continuous and contradictors, and accordingly, that question is not, it's just, not the one that is frequently asked. Any doubt in this slide? So read carefully and understand the text. Again, here, see, for the question, the topic that we had solved earlier, the command of evidence quantitative, there I had asked you to focus on the last sentence. But here, the last sentence before the word therefore will not help you at all. Here, you have to understand the entire text. Here, you have to focus on these two. If you find these two, you can just underline them, use the highlight option that you have on your screen. Or see, if you just make your notes for this really won't help. So use the highlighter option only. So first you have to figure it out, where is the continuer or where is the contradictor. Then you have to read the text that is before and after the continuers and the contradictors. Then you have to analyze you will get to know what is the hidden meaning. Once you know the hidden meaning, you will be able to give a conclusion for it. Okay, and avoid making assumptions. So see, this I told you in the last topic as well. If you have any additional information for the particular passage, just keep it aside. You don't have to add your own information. So this usually happens because in the last thing we had the graphical information with us. But here, see, as literature student, I'm also a literature student. So we often, we try we start relating one particular text with the other. Okay, some particular thing is happening in one text, we would say that, okay, and this such type of a character also existed in that particular text, and this is how the tragedy happened, and this is how the downfall of the character took place. So I would assume that, okay, in this novel as well, the same kind of a downfall will occur to this particular character. So this is what literature students do, but you have to avoid making such assumptions whenever it comes to inferences in the SAT reading section. You just have to stick to the text that is provided to you, and based on that itself, the conclusion will come. That's all, no additional information. So you don't have to assume too much beyond the stated text, focusing on personal opinions. You don't have to do that, and ignoring the tone. So always be careful with the continuers and contradictors. They'll help you a lot. Look for keywords and practice. Practice is what you require for everything. So inference questions challenge you to think critically and go beyond the surface level understanding. By practicing these strategies, you will be prepared to excel on inference questions in the SAT writing section. Okay, so your critical thinking ability. This question, see, this would be very interesting. So what was the purpose of the last topic? It was basically to analyze the graphical information in surveys, as you told me. This is basically only for literature. So see, now you and I, we are interested in literature, but not all students are interested. So this type of questions, they actually give them some space where they can actually read between the lines, and they could understand the tone of the author, and they can make their own interpretation, and they can choose their right answer. So every topic under SAT, it has some or the other purpose, especially the reading one. Now you have a topic, words in context. I will be dealing with that topic as well. So under that topic, you have if you read books, if you have a good vocabulary, that topic would be really easy for you. It's just, like you have a passage and you just have one word missing, and then you have to choose the most appropriate word from the option that completes the passage. That is like very simple, only if you have a good vocabulary, because sometimes you know what is the word over there, but you don't find the same word in the options because you don't know the synonyms of the words. Okay, so like we'll deal with that later. So SAT is, the reading section is all about your logical choices, how you interpret text and how you understand and make correct choices. That's the end of the presentation. Now let us solve some questions. Let's first let us look at some solve examples. Yes, so you have this first one. Can you read the question?
Up close, record angelfish flash eye-opening bands of yellow, white, and white. One recent study showed that as regards swim against broader reefs, visually complex background, the contrastive lines merge in the predator's brain, allowing them to evade capture. According to marine biologist Gil Rosenfeld, as a reef fish retreats, distance and motion can make it difficult for predators to perceive fine details and distinguish group space outlines from contrasting colors. From far away.
So now, looking at the text, what do you think is the tone of the text? Did you see any kind of a continuer or contradictor in whatever you have read? You can just read it once more in your mind.
Because in the sentence, the last sentence it says that as a reef fish retreats. So it can make it difficult for predators to perceive fine details and distinguish these outlines. So it basically is increasing the distance between the reef fish and its fish that it.
Yes, so this is actually according to the marine biologist. This is something that she has found out. But if you see the first half of this passage, in the first line itself, they have presented a kind of an idea to us about the reading anglefish flash, open bands of yellow, white, and white. But you have this word but. Recent studies show that. So see what already existed. There was some kind of a recent study that was against this. So we have a kind of a controversial thing over here. And then his controversy is explained further by the marine biologist, Gil Rosenthal. Okay, so here I think it is a see now if you have to look at the answer you just have to logically you have to find something that completes the text. So here that is a continuer. Whatever you will be finding in options, that just need to continue the research or the findings by the marine biologist. But this entire thing, it is basically something controversial because what already existed, it has changed after the recent studies, after the discovery of something new. So accordingly, you have to find the right answer. Now let us start eliminating. Read the first option.
The bright colors of the fish can be perceived even when the water is clouded by sunlight. That would be wrong because it is a contrasting idea to what.
Yes, so it is false. Second one.
Many predators must rely on the visual aspects of their prey. That does not relate with what we are searching for in the answer.
Yes.
Spots and stripes blur together, allowing each stationary fish to emerge in the background.
Yes. What do you think about this one?
That is what has been mentioned in the past.
Yes. It continues the idea, right? Last one.
Fish appear as single mass rather than individual creatures. We have more information on this.
Perfect. So the right option would be option C. Okay, let us move on to the second one.
The one-third of the human brain is devoted to presenting visual information. In contrast, only 5% involves smell. As a result, modern neuroscience has focused most intensely on this textual insight, with olfaction often treated as a bonus sense. That is reflected in the paucity of language to describe it, a situation that poses a problem to scientific investigation.
There
There are countless adjectives to describe what things look and sound like, but humans' vocabulary for olfactory perception is fragmentary and highly inconsistent. Therefore, it is a conclusion.
Yes. So as a result, it's basically, if you look at the second sentence, second line, as a result. So they are just, elaborating on the same idea. There is no shift of idea. But if you look at the last sentence, there are countless adjectives to describe what things look like, look and sound like. But human vocabulary for olfactory perception is fragmentary and highly inconsistent. So here in the last sentence, you have some kind of a contradiction. Now, this is a therefore. Now, see, the previous one and this one, both of them are just, you have to give a conclusion that completes the text. So here, your own opinions, you don't have to read anything between the lines. So this is the first type of a question that I showed you. It is just the author's interpretation. So here, you only have to focus on the line that is before therefore. It has some kind of a controversy, as we have the word but over there. Now you look at the options and you choose a logical sentence that completes the text.
Actually, level of funding study of process odors. That's normal information on that lens. People often cannot explain how things smell to them in a way that is comprehensible to researchers. This could be a potential answer. Third one, people must be able to process visual and olfactory information simultaneously in their daily lives. That's one. People should focus on sensations rather than words when they encounter new sense. That is also a problem. Nothing is given by us.
So here, it was easier for us to eliminate the three options because there was not much talk about the three options apart from option B. So option B is the closest one, and that clearly is the right answer. Here it talks about the conclusion. Now let us solve some questions under the classroom worksheet. Okay, solve the third one. 6-1, 7, 10, 11. Solve the 12th one also. Solve these. They are quite easy. They are very doubts with the technique. This one continuous quantitators, if it is copy this one. The question can be answered and also give me the reason.
The Hubble Space Telescope HST is projected to maintain operation until at least 2030, but it has already revolutionized high resolution image of solar system bodies in visual and ultraviolet light wavelengths. Notwithstanding that only about 6% of the bodies imaged by the HST are within the solar system. NASA researchers Cindy L. Young and colleagues assert that a new telescope dedicated exclusively to solar system observation would permit an extensive survey of high solar system bodies and long-term period of observation to discern how solar system bodies change over time. Young and colleagues' recommendation therefore implies that the HST we lack the senses to observe the radiance of light needed to discern how solar system bodies change over time.
Okay. So the right answer is option B. So, or do you think option B is completely true? Let us try this out together. Let us start eliminating the option correctly. So option one is will likely continue to be used primarily to observe objects outside the solar system. So now here we are talking about the Hubble Space Telescope, and it is basically something that is used only for 6% of times to give images of the solar like give images within the solar system. Okay, this is the key point. Bodies imaged by HST are within the solar system. Okay, and here in option A, we have that it will likely continue to be used primarily to observe objects that are outside the solar system. Okay. Now let us look at option B. Will no longer be used to observe solar system objects in the telescope recommended by Young and colleagues. Okay, so it won't be if it is deployed, but if you look at the very first sentence, the Hubble Space Telescope is projected to maintain to maintain operation until at least 2030. Okay, so it has to be over there by 2030. And if you see this, the two, the colleagues, the two researchers, they have just asserted that there should be a new telescope that should, be exclusively designed to, just get the minor solar system bodies also and to give us much detailed images about them. But it is not yet developed. They are just saying that, okay, there should be one. So again, the option B, we will eliminate that. Can be modified to observe the features of the solar system that are interested, that are of interest to young and colleagues. But now, yes, they are actually talking about the new space telescope. So there's no chance to modify the HST. And the last one, as you said, it has the sensors to observe the wavelengths of the field and need to discern how solar system bodies change over time. But here actually, yeah, is there any evidence given that it lacks the sensors to observe the wavelengths of time? Right? So it could, stay in cooperation, observe the objects that are outside the solar system. Okay, so here this was not something where you had to conclude it, but here you actually have to read between the lines. This is one type of a question. Here, did you find any continuer or any contradictor? Therefore, okay. So you have to, because this is not just completing the text, you are not giving a logical conclusion over there, but you are just adding on the information. So if you look at the earlier thing that I mentioned in the passage, option A will be the most important answer. Read the sixth one.
Tides can deposit large quantities of dead vegetation in the soil marsh, causing heavy plants and breathing soil. Soil pain. Soil pain. A depression devoid of plants that tends to trap standing water in the marsh setting. Ecologists Catherine Pesci and Greaves found that the balloon crabs within these veins improve gradient by using the soil needed to veins to shrink as marsh plants move by. At salt marsh edges, however, the crab-induced soil erosion can promote marsh loss by accelerating erosion, suggesting that the burrowing action of crabs should be
Marsh answers, but it increases in marsh plants depending on the crab's location. Can you tell me why?
Because if it is within the vein, there would be an increase in the marsh plants, and if it is at the salt marsh edges, there will be a decrease in the marsh plants.
So option A is the right one. That one.
In many cultures, the handshake can create trust with people. Engineer Zhao Avenue and his team are designing a robot to shake hands with a human in order to improve human-robot interactions. The robot hand adjusts its movement and pressure to better imitate the feel of a human hand. The researchers want the robot's handshake to feel realistic because really lifelike handshake may make people more comfortable interacting with it.
Why do you think this is the right one?
The B and C is it's not given in the text.
Yes.
And the only options are between A and B. So D was more accurate than A because here we are talking about improving the trust, how a handshake creates trust with people. So what they're aiming at is creating the trust between humans and robots.
The 10th one.
Also, Broadway theaters emerged in the late 1980s as a rebellion against mainstream Broadway theaters in New York, freeing artists to create productions that were more experimental than typical Broadway shows. One such artist was playwright Maria Ellen Fons. Working with off-Broadway theaters enabled Fons not only to direct her own plays, but also to direct them exactly as she intended them to the stage, regardless of how strange the results might have seemed to all of them as are considered to be Broadway shows. In this way, Fons illustrates the artistic quality offered by off-Broadway theaters. Because in the first line, it tells us that it was the off-Broadway theaters emerged as a rebellion, which basically feed the artists to create productions that were more experimental, and they were something that were different from the Broadway shows. So she did that opportunity. As the name suggests, tomatoes are That's right. Tomatoes originated in theatre where they continue to serve a variety of functions, conducting historical research for directors, compiling character biographies for actors, and perhaps most importantly, helping writers of play and visitors to bring the works, stories, and characters. Performance scholar Suzanne Manning observes that many choreographers, like playwrights and musical theatre writers, are concerned with storytelling and characterization. In fact, some choreographers describe their dances they create as expressions of narrative through movement. It is therefore unsurprising that speech matters can have a profound impact on the artistic direction of plays and musicals. Because we are basically that it is asking us to give a good ending to the paragraph. So, and the entire paragraph is talking about the dramaturg's contribution to the theater. See, we
Let us start eliminating from A because I don't see is the right option. So let us look at the first A. If some directors and actors rely too heavily on dramaturgs to complete certain research tasks. So do you think this is true? Choreographers developing dances with narrative elements frequently engage dramaturgs to assist in defining those elements. This could be true. And you said C one is true. So what made you choose C over D?
I thought that therefore, so it is expecting me to give a conclusion of the entire paragraph. And the paragraph is talking about the contribution of the matter. So how they are having the impact, profound impact on the artistic direction of the piece.
But if you look at the sentence, from where if you see the performance scholar, Sam Manning observes that many choreographers like playwrights and musical theatre writers are concerned with storytelling and characterization. So here, see now our focus is shifted from the dramaturgs to the playwrights. Okay? In fact, some choreographers describe the dances that they create as expressions of narrative through movement. It is therefore unsurprising that the right option would be B because it continues the text much more logically than the C one. Because we have to shift our focus from two choreographers from the narratives.
It's because there's a semicolon in the last line, so it's also expecting us to look into good dance choreographers.
So see, when you will be dealing with the writing section, you will know what are the focus of semicolon. So when you use a semicolon, it's basically a total shift the earlier context. So semicolon is used when you have to pause or more than a comma and less than a full stop. But again, when a semicolon is used, it is a shift. So basically, if I give you a sentence, her brother ride the bicycle, and in a semicolon, she walked. What is the connection between the two? You see, they are like two separate sentences, but you could actually make connections because her brother rides the bicycle, she has to walk. Okay? So brother rides the bicycle, she walks. So this is how you have to, focus on the transition. Here, though see, they are first talking about the dramaturgs, then they are talking about the choreographers. But if you look at the last line, in fact, some choreographers describe the dances they create as expressions of narrative through movement. It is therefore unsurprising that it would be about choreographers. Okay, so it is basically acting as a continuum. There is a continuum over here, and we have to shift our focus to the choreographers. We have to just establish a connection between
Choreographers, dance choreographers, and the economy sentence. Okay, yes.
The 12th one.
Gestures in painting are typically thought of as bold, expressive brushstrokes. In the 1970s, American painter Jack Whitney built a 12-foot truly made Debda portrait black paint to an entire canvas in one motion, resulting in a series of slab paintings from that decade. Whitney described this process as making an entire painting in one gesture, signaling a clear departure from the prevalence of gesture in his work from the 1960s. Some art historians claim that this shape represents the moving gesture from the process. Therefore, regardless of whether using the developer constituents the gesture, both written and these art historians likely agree that any tool that a painter uses to create an artwork is capable of creating gestures.
See, now we are talking about there are two periods Okay, the first one is in 1970s, the American paper. So in the year 1970s, like in the year 1970s, this paper is introduced to us in the text. Okay, now here there are two options that has some kind of a year. So we look at option B and option D. And see, according to me, option A and option C, they are something that I could just clearly eliminate. If you look at the information that is given to you, I don't feel that okay. To some extent, both of the options might be true, but they are not acting as a continuer to the passage that is provided to you. I will just focus on option B and option D. So option B tells us that Britain's work from 1960s exhibits many more gestures than its works from the 1970s does. So basically, if you just read the entire passage here, you have to compare between the two decades, 1970s and 1980s. And whereas if you see option D, Britain's work from 1960s is much more realistic than his work from 1970s. Now, both of these, they are just contrasting each other. So one will definitely be true and the other one will be false. Okay. So now here, whenever whenever you have a question when there is a year given to you. So always, not always, but most of the time the options they always ask you to compare between those two periods. So this question is also the same. So if you look at the last line, therefore regardless of whether using the developer constitutes a gesture, both Whitton and these art historians likely agree that the right option would be Britain's work from the 1960s exhibits many more gestures than his work from 1970s does. And the reason is they have already stated. Okay? Because he has one gesture painting, one gesture significantly departure from the prevalence of gestures in his work from 1960s. So this is the reason. And hence the conclusion will be B. You have any doubts? Okay. So now in the next class, we will be dealing with two more topics. So one is like very easy. You can go to page number 77. Okay. On page number 77, there is a topic text structure and purpose. Now I'll just give you a summary about this. So we are going to do two topics. Session 6, we are also going to do session 5. So session 5 is words in context. So as I told you, this words in context, it is purely based upon your vocabulary skills. Okay. So this is the 5th topic, and the 6th topic is text. Is that text structure and purpose? Yes. Text structure and purpose. This is basically divided into two. So here again, you will be asked to give a conclusion or the summary of the text, but here you have no continuation. In the earlier inferences, you had to continue it. Okay, but here there is no continuation. Or the second one is you will be having an underlined sentence, and then they will be asking you that which of the following options define the underlined sentence in its best possible. Okay, now for this vocabulary, I'll give you some websites. Now, see, vocabulary is something that you can't develop it in a day or even a month. You need to have constant practice. So what I tell my students, I have a list of websites where you can actually have certain quizzes. Where there is a website known as Pre-Rise. You just go and check this website. That website is Pre-Rise, and this website is actually a very good one. They do some kind of a social service, and the more you answer it correctly, the bowl of the rice will be filled, and it would be given to a needy child. Okay, so this is how they have it. The more you use this website, they will definitely be earning from it, and then they will be using it for a good purpose. So I would recommend you to go to this website. There again, you will be having, a word, and they will ask you to give a synonym for the word, or you will be having a blank, and then you have to choose the correct word from the option. So this kind of things, if you do, start it from right now, because today is your first session for SAT. So give at least 10 minutes to all. See, there are many more websites. If you research, you'll get many other websites too, but I would recommend this one. This is the best one. It is very user friendly as well. So your vocabulary will develop a lot. Now you are a literature student, so I expect that you will definitely have a good vocabulary. But in the next class, we'll focus on how to decode words, because here words of context, it is all about decoding the words. Sometimes, as I told you, you already know what is the answer in the blank, but you are unable to find that word in the option because you are not aware about the synonyms. So I will be dealing with morphological analysis as well in this topic. And this one is very simple. So if you get time at home, this is not a homework, but I'm just telling you, if you get time at home, go through this one. It is just as simple as the fourth one itself. You have to give a conclusion or summary, or just you have to state what the underlying sentence talks about. That's all. So this topic and inferences is very similar. This is a completely different topic. Also, I will be dealing with topic number 8. That is rhetoricals. No, not in the next class. See, I have to deal with 5 topics. So I'm done with 2 topics. So your homework is you have to solve the rest 8 questions from the second topic. In the next class, we will be solving the practice worksheet for both the second topic and the fourth topic in class. Will it be possible for you to solve the fourth topic as well? The rest of the question, because I think we have already solved 5 to 6. So I think only 6 are remaining. So 8 plus 6, can you do that at home? Okay, then we'll discuss that in class. We'll solve the practice worksheet in class itself, and then we'll start with both of these topics. This one is very much simple. This one is something new, and the last one, rhetorical synthesis. This is the most easiest one. This is the most fun. So you'll enjoy this a lot. We'll do this at the end. Rest, I think the third one, the first one, the third one, and the 7th one, Manish sir will be the topics. Okay, so like while you are solving the questions at home, if you have any doubts, you can ask me. So I will be completing all this in 4 sessions. So today was the first one. I have 3 more sessions to complete all these topics. If you have any doubts, so you can ask me. I think next Saturday is a public holiday. I'm not aware, but I think next Saturday I would be having a session with you. I'll have a session with you directly 27. I'm not sure about the date, but not the next Saturday for sure. So you might be having a session with Manish sir, or you might not have a session. You might have a holiday. I'll just confirm it and I'll let you know. Okay. So you have any doubts for today? Okay. Sure. Yes. I hope you enjoyed. Yes. Your name is Ananya. Yes. What's your full name? Ananya Pandey. You're from? Maharashtra. Maharashtra? I thought you were a Punjabi. What did you say it's all? Huh? Thought me to fix. It's like that. You can go and check out your novel. Is it available on? Yes, it is available. So it's just English right now online. You won't be able to buy it online right now, but it's there. It is listed on. You can find it in there. Okay, definitely. Yeah, check it out. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's go beyond the material that we have. Go and look for other questions also. Try solving it, and if you don't understand anything, bring those questions to class, we'll solve them together. Thank you.